You don't necessarily need to be born a leader to be a leader. These are skills you acquire over time through hard work and self beliefs. But more effectively, your DNA and your personality, your authentic personalities and identities shine through. That's the best way to be able to be credible to others as well.
There's a quote I really like that says, "Good leaders make you believe in them, great leaders make you believe in you." What did your own journey teach you about what makes a true great leader?
Good question.
The following is a conversation with Kevin Hill, executive advisor, keynote speaker, and business developer, specializing in enterprise leadership and high-stakes decision-making. Kevin works with founders, CEOs, and senior leaders operating across international markets where strategic decisions carry significant financial and reputational consequences. The conversation was recorded at the Monaco office of Junior Chamber International, also known as JCI, one of the world's largest leadership development organizations, where he served as Secretary General from 2019 to 2024. I hope you enjoy the video.
Kevin, thank you for being here. Today we are in a special location at JCI Monaco. To start off, I want to discuss about one of your LinkedIn posts titled Leadership for Introverts, where you wrote that leadership is not reserved for extroverts and that being introverted can actually be a strength. What's the story behind the idea?
What you said. First of all, thanks for having me here, Fabio. And yes, the general conception, or let's say the general cliche, is that leaders are all the people who go up, stand up, can command a room, and they're the ones who just speak loudest in any discussion. And this is how I was brought up. When I was at university, you had all the most charismatic people who took the leadership roles in the university societies, in the clubs, even in the lectures and the tutorials. And I grew up believing that, and that was a clear limiting belief I had in my teens or my early 20s. But then I realized that I knew deep down that I had the innate leadership skills to be successful afterwards, but I didn't have a spark to develop it. Thanks to JCI, I did get the spark, and thanks to other factors as well. But this is absolutely true. If you're an introvert, it does not mean you cannot be a leader. We've got different skills as introverts, and I've learned how to speak comfortably in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people, or to lead teams, or to do different activities and successfully pivot businesses under crisis, whilst being an introvert. And this is what I wanted to prove in that talk. Essentially, as an introverted leader, it's not about just being at the center of attention. It's about working hard, developing a vision, and working with individuals one by one to make sure they understand your vision. And as I said, it's not about being the loudest in the room, but being about the most effective and the strongest performer.
Absolutely. There's a quote I really like that says, "Good leaders make you believe in them, great leaders make you believe in you." What did your own journey teach you about what makes a true great leader?
Oh, I wouldn't say anybody is the finished article ever. Even those we perceive as being the true great leaders have room for improvement. So it's all about constantly improving. But to answer your question, what gave me the confidence was all about getting that spark, seizing the opportunities when they arise. And one example was when I was at JCI as a member, as a volunteer, I decided to run as a Deputy National President of JCI in Monaco. So JCI is a youth leadership development organisation for young people aged 18 to 40. And at the time I was just turned 30. And I was not the natural charismatic person who was seen as a natural leader. There was another candidate on the board who was had been there much less long than I had been, but who was a female charismatic lawyer. and who had been able to charm everybody after 18 months, whereas I was seen as the workhorse working behind the scenes without any leadership skills. Many people told me, oh no, Kevin won't be a great president because he's not a leader. And I was like, let me prove you wrong. So that's what I did. I worked hard, made sure I had a proper vision, trained my public speaking skills to make sure that when I had to perform and go on stage and answer questions from the audience, I was able to, putting in the hours, getting a team together of friends who were coaching me on my weak points and making me successful. And that was really the spark that made me feel that anything was possible in my life. That reduced several of my limiting beliefs in one big strike, and therefore helped me to grow and gave me the confidence boost when I was 30 to be able to achieve great things afterwards. And even though the story's not over yet.
Absolutely. So you always thought you could be a leader. What I'm very interested in is can you become a leader, or is it something you're born with?
Good question. In my case, yes, I always thought I could do it. And when people didn't believe in me, I shrugged it off. Of course, it affected me, but I shrugged it off by saying that it's because you don't know me.
Okay.
You don't know who I really am. In many cases, I relocated to France, to Monaco when I was a kid. I didn't speak any French. When I was 10 years old, I was put into a French-speaking school. I didn't enjoy it. It was tough, but I still got good grades regardless. So that was the first proof of my capacity to adopt. And I'm talking about myself, as I'm not exceptional. Anybody can do it if you have a minimum of belief in yourself. This being said, you don't necessarily need to be born a leader to be a leader. These are skills you acquire over time through hard work and self-belief. Some people are more natural leaders than others, but the big extrovert, if they come in and they don't work on their leadership skills, they still fail. The introvert who works on their leadership, the introverts who work on their leadership skills can thrive and survive as well.
What's the biggest strength that introverts have, for instance, in leadership?
The biggest strength of an introvert would probably be to think before acting. Of course, some introverts still go full in, maybe as a compensation factor. But generally, I find that introverted leaders tend to think, tend to consult more, and tend to think of various options and solutions when it comes to their decision-making processes, and evaluate critical decisions in an objective manner rather than going in headfirst into a decision. I think that's the main difference between introverts and extroverts.
And also for those listening who are often the quietest in the room, how can they become a leader? What's your advice for them?
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work, putting their head down, developing a strategy, and thinking it through, and then going step by step. You're at the back of a room, move forward one row at a time.
Absolutely.
Learn how to speak up, one voice at a time. It doesn't need to be an overnight transformational change, but even when you're capable of speaking in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people, it doesn't prevent you from being an introvert. You don't need to become an extrovert to be able to do it. Authenticity is a massive key in being a leader. Whether you're introverted or extroverted, being your authentic self, understanding who your authentic self is, working on your own identity and your brand identity and your personal brand. I know some of you who are students, you might think, well, I don't need a personal brand, or those in your early 20s or whatever, but you do. That's what defines who you are over time, and the more effectively your DNA and your personality, your authentic personalities and identities shine through, that's the best way to be able to be credible to others as well.
So you're saying there are different kind of leaderships. you can be a different leader based on your personality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are lots of different kinds of leaders, but in behavioral analysis, there are generally four types of categories. The leader who pushes forward regardless, whatever the cost, and is totally goal-oriented. The bulldozer in extreme cases. On the opposite side, you've got the person who makes sure, the empathetic leader, who makes sure nobody is left behind. The problem is, if you go into the opposite, that's extreme, you never make progress and you frustrate others. By making sure everybody is included, you exclude the ones who want to move forward. So that's not good either. So excessive inclusive leadership becomes exclusionary as well. On the other hand, you've got the creative leader who has lots of ideas, but sometimes goes all over the place and doesn't funnel down properly. And then you've got, on the opposite side, you've got the grounded leader, the data-driven leader who really thinks everything through and decides on the pros and cons. But again, this leader, sometimes in the extreme case, they never take decisions because they're paralyzed by the decision-making process. So, as I said, each leadership style in its extreme has drawbacks. But the idea is to get some balance. I'm more the, let's say, the fire leader who goes for it, but I'm also grounded. I'm not too impulsive. I do care about what others think, even though I won't let one dissenting voice hinder me, and I'll still keep moving forward. In fact, that person must be left behind, so be it. They're not on the right team. They shouldn't be here. And same, I like being creative as well, but not going all over the place. So that's how I would define my leadership style. It's like a polar chart, and you can be a kite, or it's very difficult to be totally balanced in all four.
Absolutely. And in your interviews, you often mention enterprising leaders. What do you mean by that?
Enterprising leaders, yeah, that's a very important term, and it's what I would encourage everybody to be. Being an enterprising, my role as a CEO or a team leader is to develop the notion and the spirit of enterprising leadership amongst all of my team members or my employees. For example, if I've got when I was JCI Secretary General, I had, let's say, for example, an events director who had a very strong personality, very creative lady. So essentially, when you've got people like that, you can either tell them exactly what you want them to do and micromanage them, and then they get frustrated, they leave. But if you give them too much leeway, then they go all over the place. So the notion of enterprising leadership is to give clear red lines, in some cases, a clear goal and target defined by time and by numbers. So in this case, we had a conference in Finland where I told her, your KPI is to get 1,600 members to attend this event and to make sure that with our global budget, our internal budget, after staff travel costs and other expenses, we make a 60,000 euro surplus. So she was given, and you've got 1 week to come up with a plan for it, and you've got to deliver that within 3 months. She did that. So she had the boxes and the target in the corner, and she had the leeway within this box to express all her creativity to achieve the goal. And this is what I mean by enterprising leadership. It's where team members, like managers or directors under your supervision, like if you're a startup founder, your COO or your marketing director or your sales director or your developers are given the red lines, but they can express their personalities and stamp their own personalities on the project and how to get there. This is why they, again, as I said, they get full ownership of a project. They feel a personal triumph when the project has been successful, and they will come back for more, and they will work even harder for the greater goals of the company. That's how we all work together in the same team, by being a group of enterprising leaders.
That's powerful. There's I don't know if you know Simon Sinek. He's an American author and inspirational speaker. He says that great leaders aren't those who get the most out of people, but rather those who create the best environment for people to perform at their natural best.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
completely agree with you.
Great leaders are ones who train great leaders.
Exactly, exactly. So from your several years of experience in dealing with young leaders at JCI, what skills do you think my generation should focus on for leading well in the future?
Oh, there are three critical skills. Of course, nowadays you've got tools which we didn't have. Like I'm one of the last generations which is not digital native up until I discovered the internet when I was 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Before that, it didn't exist. But your generation is fully digital native now, which is a blessing and also not that good. There's some things which aren't as good, like the knowing how to read from a book as opposed to a screen.
Yeah.
The blue light we all get in our faces now compared to before when we got almost no blue light. That sort of thing, which creates attention disorders. Those are problems. But what the new generations of leaders have are really the use of artificial intelligence, capitalizing on that, leveraging new technologies, and also being able to have access to the world so easily. In my organization, which one of the organizations I'm launching now, WENCHAM, the World Chamber of Entrepreneurs for Economic Development, any entrepreneur who joins has access to a global network. So every 2 months they can join a global online networking session with other fellow entrepreneurs from opposite sides of the world, maybe from countries they've never heard of. So in terms of the skills members should acquire, the first one would be to leverage the fact that the world is much flatter and more interconnected, to develop a better understanding of how the world works, cross-cultural understanding. Before we were reading books and that's what I did. I was reading encyclopedias and learning the capitals of the world when I was 8, and learning where Nauru and Sao Tome and Principe actually were, and what the capitals were. Now you can go on YouTube and look at a video and watch a video of what those countries look like. You can watch vloggers talking about it. So that's one thing, cross-cultural understanding.
Here in Monaco, sorry for cutting you off, Monaco, we are experiencing every day a melting pot of culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can be good practice as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing, understanding how different cultures work and how the business practices are as well. So that's the first aspect. The second one, the second skill a young leader needs, in addition to an open cross-cultural mind, is being able to take decisions, critical decisions, quickly and efficiently. So not hesitating too much. An enterprising leader is strong and decisive and resilient. And I truly believe you can't be a leader if you're not strong. If you wait for everybody for there to be consensus, you get nowhere. If you wait for everybody to convince the last member of your board who's against your decision, you'll have missed the bus maybe.
Yeah.
So you still need to be very efficient in your critical decision making, be it to bring in a new investor to your startup, or to invest in a new IT system, or to decide whether to keep or get rid of one of your staff members, or to shut down a division, or to pivot your industry. So critical decision making. The third aspect is strong leadership under pressure. And again, strength. It's very important not to crack, to take a step above. If the whole world is falling down around you like it was during COVID, it's important to take a step back and understand, how can we turn this crisis into an opportunity and leverage it? How can we use it to repivot our strategy and become more successful? This is what we did at JCI during the COVID crisis. This is what many organizations did, and those which don't use crisis to pivot properly fail. So, to recap, strong decision making, cross-cultural understanding, and strong leadership under pressure. Those are the 3 skills I would recommend everybody from new generations to follow, which are not new skills. They're good old-fashioned tricks which I want to use for myself as well. So not too many differences between generations.
Absolutely. Ponder it before taking a decision, but once the decision is made, you go along with it and be very
go all
decisive.
in.
Yeah, absolutely. What mistakes do you see young leaders make today?
Essentially the opposite of what I said, right? No, the mistakes they want young leaders make, and let me boil it down to what I did when I was a young leader. I bought a hotel when I was 25, and I had no experience managing a hotel. It was a small hotel of 18 rooms. So what I did, I was an employee for the hotel. It wasn't my business. I was the slave of the business. So I went all in. I was working 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was on the ground. I was doing everything. I had 2 staff members, a receptionist who replaced me 8 hours a day, and a cleaning lady. But when those staff members were not around, I was there the rest of the time doing everything and managing everything. It wasn't great for my personal safety, and I was in full tunnel vision mode and just ploughing away, and it burnt me out after 2 or 3 years. And many young leaders and entrepreneurs do that because they don't scale up, because they don't take the strategic space behind to think and to take the step back. Now what I do is take the step back and think strategically as well, rather than ploughing away through. But even though the tunnel and the plough is much easier, and we stay in our comfort zone if we don't think strategically and ahead. So that's one of the key mistakes young leaders still make. The other mistake, again, is not taking bold decisions because they want to make everybody happy. Again, especially young leaders, we're not sure of ourselves, or most of us are not sure of ourselves, or even though we seem arrogant or whatever, in fact we're insecure. So it's trying to be too nice to everyone, and therefore when you're too nice, you dilute your own vision, you dilute your own identity, and that's not good. So stop being too nice. Stop trying to make everybody happy. Make the majority happy. The majority is 50% plus 1. So as long as you've got a majority vote on a board or anything, you can move forward and we can already advance. And if others aren't happy, you can win them over afterwards by proof of concept. But don't let the need for unanimity hold you down.
Of course. And you've been based in Monaco for over 20 years. How long exactly?
37.
37. Wow.
Yeah.
And I saw recently an old interview you had where you described this country as with infinite potential. Do you still believe that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It does have potential, and we've seen through how resilient this country has remained. Let's not forget that the potential comes from the people. It's a melting pot. We've got, at the time, maybe when I did that interview, there were 122 nationalities in Monaco. Now we have 145, 15 years later. And yes, with that melting pot, it's important to be able to understand those different cultures and go and meet them, because at the same time, we tend to stay too much amongst our own microcosm and our own little groups, and we don't really open our minds. Many people live here and don't even make the effort to speak French, just like many foreigners live in Hong Kong and don't make the effort to speak Cantonese. Others live in Dubai and don't make the effort to learn Arabic, which is a shame because you can get by, but you only get 25% of what the country offers if you don't speak the local language. So I do maintain my statement, but I really say that you need to immerse and understand the local culture to be able to benefit from it 100%, and then it can get its infinite potential.
Absolutely. And what's your take on Monaco's business setting, and how important is JCI, for instance, in helping young professionals or young entrepreneurs grow and actually create opportunities?
Yeah, Monaco's business setting, first of all. Okay, Monaco does have a business setting. That's the first thing I want to say to the audience, because most people don't realise that. Everybody thinks that people come here and they sit on their yachts and they sunbathe all day and they drink champagne and then they go to the casino and maybe work an hour a day or something. That's not true. Monaco is a place where people work. It's a huge employer. population of 40,000 people. We've got more than that amount who come in every day to work here and to grow the economy. Monaco is probably the biggest driver of the whole economy in this whole French Riviera region. And if you think about the economic impact Monaco has, it's definitely a country that punches well above its weight on the global stage, economically but also politically, and well above many other micro-states with similar populations. So it's not just about finance. We've got industry, we've got banking, we've got tourism, we've got all sorts of service industries, we've got different aspects of all three sectors of the economy here in Monaco. So that's what outsiders need to understand. It's not just a place where influencers come to take nice photos or drive around in Ferraris. That's unfortunately the big cliche of Monaco, which many people have. But it's a real place where real people live and work, and that's why the government's making so many efforts to promote entrepreneurship as well. And this is where JCI comes in as a vector, as one of the key organizations that pushes youth entrepreneurship. There are many more organizations like Wencham, the organization I'm launching right now, which helps develop qualified entrepreneurs, linking them to a global network and promoting entrepreneurial diplomacy. So these are the different aspects, and there are many actors in Monaco who can support entrepreneurial and economic growth.
What's the biggest strength of being situated in a place like Monaco for an entrepreneur or a young professional?
So being in Monaco, there are two major strengths. There's the geographical location and the political stability. When it comes to geographical location, we're in the heart of Europe. It's easy to get anywhere in the world from Monaco, and it's also a great place to use as a base to travel around the world. But when I was traveling around the world, it was a wonderful place to come back to and relax after coming back from South America or Western Africa or Eastern Asia. It's a fantastic place to just call home. Second is the geopolitical aspects. We're quite well shielded in the heart of Europe from many global crisis zones. Now, nothing is guaranteed in this volatile world, but I have to say that given the externalities we're facing now in different parts of the world, Monaco does feel much safer and sheltered when you look at our position on the map compared to other similar attractive destinations.
Okay, and after everything you've seen and built, what's your final advice for the leaders of the next generation?
I would say, first of all, focus on your strengths and make sure that you don't need to transform yourself to come back to being an introverted leader. If you're introverted, stay introverted by all means, but turn that into a strength and turn whatever you have into something which is unbeatable. So really focus on your strong points. No need to focus on eliminating your weak points, that's part of who you are, but minimize them and really focus on expanding your strong points. This expansionary mindset is essential in all aspects of everything else. When it comes to developing your career, your business, always think big. Don't think of any limits that you have, geographical or financial. It's all about meeting the right people, seizing opportunities, and having a clear goal and strategy as well in what you're doing. Make sure if you have a business that every single conversation you have has some kind of strategic value to your business, even during your relaxing time. That's where the best ideas come in. And the third and my personal philosophy is to always be positive about the future. If something happens, it happens for a reason, but never forget that, as I always say, the future is bright as long as we make it bright, and that the best is always yet to come.
Absolutely.
Because when we believe that the best is yet to come, it will happen, and there will always be a happier future ahead. Even though the present is bright, the future is brighter. We just need to believe in it and work in the present to make the future successful.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kevin. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Fabio.